Howdy there. So we're beginning our YouTube video as we go on to Facebook. So you get to see the, someday I'll have like a crew that's putting this together ahead of time. I could have done this part though, huh? So welcome. We are going to talk about today becoming a network ninja. Very exciting. So you're going to see me say hello twice for those of you that are watching the video, and we will edit that eventually as we get fancy, because we are getting really fancy. So hi there. So I was talking to the YouTube channel, and now I'm talking to the Facebook group, and I'm going to stick the YouTube over there. So we've got two screens because we're getting so fancy, very fancy. And I think I'm in the group, right? It looks like I'm on the page, but I should be in the group. If I'm not, then share into the group, please, Doug. Well, I'll wait till Doug's here. So yeah, today we are in our boring background today, so it feels very stark. I need to fill it up. Fill it up. Hi, Elaine. I'm filling up the background because it's a stark background because we moved. Anywho, it was a Wi-Fi deal. I'm not going to go into the whole thing. So today we are talking about becoming a network ninja, because we need to do that. Hi, Doug. We're in the group, right? If not, can you share it in the group? I thought I went live in the group, but it looks like the page to me. Sometimes it's hard to tell. So yeah, so we got lots going on. Enrollment has officially closed, she says with confidence. And we have a bunch of new screen readers that are coming in, and we're having such a great time. Yep, I'm here. You're here. It's all good. Everything's good. Cool. Nice. So we will be talking about networking today, because who likes networking? Does anybody like networking? Let me know in the comments if you like networking. It's the group. Awesome. We're the group. Yes. I knew that. I had it all planned out. So yeah. So who likes networking? Anyone like networking? We tolerate it, right? At best. So we thought we would do a little bit of, kind of some tips around networking. And yes, we have a giveaway. We do have a handout. So I am looking at it right now. I'm not going to give it to you just yet. We'll give it to you towards the end. Hi. Oh, wow. That's a great name. Is it Kalichia or Kalisha? Kalisha, I bet, huh? Did I get that right? Let me know. So I love seeing people. If you're on YouTube, please make comments in the comments. Can't see. Oh, wait. Oh, no. Never mind. That was getting fancy there. But they have a thing in YouTube, so I'm not seeing comments in YouTube. So I can see both now. It's very exciting. So leave a Kalisha. Did I say that right? Awesome. That's a great name. I love names. Names are so cool. So my friends just named their kid Lion. That was an interesting, Lyon. Has anybody heard of that before? Anyway, so, and he's got a sister, Athena. So these children need to be powerful children. And Athena she's amazing. So anyway, most people don't even if you're an extrovert, which most writers, it'd be interesting to see. We should do that, Doug. Let's do that. Let's do a poll. Let's do like Briggs-Meyer or something in Gatekeepers. That would be an interesting thing to see how many people are introverts or extroverts. I know this might come as a huge shock, but I'm an extrovert. But actually, I know it. I in this world, but when I actually don't, I am actually the quiet one in the room. I know that might seem kind of hard to believe, but I actually am when I go to like public places. I'm not the life of the party by any stretch of the imagination. I feel very comfortable with you guys, and I have a message because I can speak that I'm trying to share. Oh wait, first it's called shoozing or schmoozing. Kalichi. Oh, the first one was right. Kalichia. That's cool. That is so cool. Cindy says I don't know what to say when I'm trying to network. We're going to talk about that a little bit. We need a poll, right? Emily is totally an extrovert. Shocker. That does not surprise me. So Yahoo! What about you, Anson? What are you? Are you an extrovert? So, but when I do, let's do a poll. It'll be interesting to see because most writers are actually introverts, and they get their extrovertedness. Is that a word? Extrovert stuff. I'm making up all kinds of words. They get those out on the page, right? You can write your extrovert and how many. Oh, I just watched. Oh, it was bad. Sorry, and I love Johnny Depp. I don't even know the title of it actually. It's the one where he plays the writer, John Turturro. Great actors, but dang, saw that coming a mile away. Saw that ending. It was really Timothy Hutton, really good actors. What is that movie? Okay, here comes the Staples gift card. What is that movie? And no Googling or IMDbing. What is the difference? That's a good question, Cindy. So an extrovert is typically someone who, so basically if you come into a room full of people, or actually it doesn't even have to be a room full of people. If you are someone that, like I do here, so someone who your mouth is ahead of your brain, there's some good and bad things about that. So someone who, words just sort of trip off your tongue and you're like you talk kind of quickly usually, but it's more about the process of communication that you have. So introverts have a tendency to think before they speak, a very good trait to have. Wish I had more of. But in a room, I actually do have that, or in a group of people. Here, not so much. But extroverts are more comfortable typically being able to do what I do here, being able to just no, for once, Anson didn't get it right out of the gate. No, Johnny Depp was the star with John Turturro playing his co-star. Let's put it that way. Timothy Hutton and what's her name? She was in there too, Maria Bello. No, I feel this going on. Stop it. Well, I was talking to my brother today, the one that you met the other couple weeks ago, and we were talking about your brain and how everything's fine as long as you control your brain. What? Oh, says Anson. Okay, so anywho. So an introvert is typically someone who thinks before they speak, is not, I don't want to say shy, because it doesn't necessarily mean that you're shy, but it does mean that you're kind of more cautious, or you might not. Whereas an extrovert has a tendency to be more comfortable in crowds, more comfortable in bigger rooms, more comfortable kind of just speaking in general. Extroverts don't tend to worry as much about how they come across or what they might say, saying something not inappropriate. I'm demonstrating it so perfectly right now. Inappropriate. Yes, I am concerned about saying things. I do not want to say things that are inappropriate. But being able to make mistakes like that, introverts have a harder time with that kind of thing. So there's good and bad things about both, obviously, because extroverts kind of have an easier time getting the ball rolling. However, extroverts, as you see here on a regular basis, put their foot in their mouth consistently. Whereas introverts, extroverts can be kind of obnoxious. I know this is like really hard to believe. You're both. I think actually everyone is both. I think we all have elements of both. Depends on the scenario. Depends on who you're with. But in general, and most of us, you lean sort of one way or the other. And we had one of our coaching sessions, and we did in our course, we actually have you take the test because we're trying to get people to work together, and knowing what kind of there's a whole there's a bunch of different tests. And so you can do these personality tests and having an understanding sort of who you are. And actually, Alyssa Darren Nelson has a whole thing, and she's awesome. And her website is freaking awesome, entrepreneur. So I didn't do that on purpose, plug. But she's great. She does a whole thing on testing, so you can test your personality, because it does help to sort of know what you are innately, comfortable with. And by understanding that, then you can, partner up with people that make kind of more sense. So you can, there's DISC training is another one, DISC. And so someone who's a D, who's more dynamic and like bigger and determined, and then kind of those kind of more gregarious leaders. And then you have intuitive, which is the I, and then I think it's sensitive. And then I know C is conscientious, which is my last one. And we all have a little bit of everything. But what's interesting though, is if I took that, and this I think is a flaw in the test, is that if I took that test in regards to work, absolutely full on D, coming up with ideas, leading the way, blah, blah, blah. But when I took it with my home life, I was a C, conscientious because of mom, you know, like things are a little bit different. So it can be, whereas the Briggs-Meyer kind of does a better job, I think, of you as the whole. And then the other one that we do in the course, which is escaping me right now, but it's a whole nother one that kind of, where you can kind of define what your 5 sort of personality traits are. And like all of mine, of my just general personality traits, are about action, are about moving forward, running, getting things done. And so I know because of that, that even if, like, and I kind of put this in an email, but I've had a couple of rough weeks, and even if I'm having a difficult time with something, if I just get things done, I feel better. And so just accepting that, by understanding your own personality and accepting those traits about yourself, it just makes it easier in your world, and you can kind of relax about the things that, you know, so you don't beat yourself up all the time. And then also what it can do is that, and this is what Alyssa teaches beautifully, is that for you to embrace your strengths, because we have a tendency to think, oh, I'm not very good at that, I'm going to get better at that thing. Instead of going, you know, I'm not really good with that, so maybe someone else should take that thing, and I'm going to focus on what my strengths are, rather than, you know, no one's perfect, we're all lopsided and whatever, but being able to kind of understand that. So this is kind of a long-winded thing, but it does have to do, evil book, sort of. He has, like, it's a thing about plagiarism in the movie. Is that what you mean, Elaine? Yes, and extroverts get their energy being around people, and introverts get their energy working alone. Yes, we all have both, and balance is good. That's true, Emily, although that's really interesting because I far prefer being alone when I'm working. So, I mean, I do, you know, Doug and I are pretty, you know, obviously we work really closely together. But in general, one of my favorite things is curling up with my dog on my couch and working. Because I love what we're doing here is partly it, or writing, or, you know, so introverts have that capacity to sort of be alone, focus on the page, and typically, nope, not Edward Scissorhands, Izzard fans. I crack myself up. Someone's got to. Gallup, was that it? No, it's in the course. I should know. I do know this, but it's because we got sidetracked with a different one that we were just playing with. It's been around forever. It's like, it'll come to me, but it'll come to me if I stop thinking about it. So, but having kind of an understand, yes, that is a different Edward Scissorhands movie. Scruffles. So Scruffles sits and she helps me, right? So, you know, I think we all have both, but having an understanding of that is very important when it comes to networking. So we're going to give you some tips and stuff. We're going to put it in 3 acts, because that's what we do, because we're storytellers, and give you some tips about how to sort of deal. First of all, understand what you are, you know, what you're more comfortable with, and embrace it, and don't worry about it. Whatever, that's what it is. And people that work in LA have a love for introverts, because most writers are introverts, and they, you know, I mean, if you see some of the writers like that write on some of the comedy shows, and you're like, whoa, when you meet them, and Mike White is a really good example. He's, you know, super great writer, and he writes really big characters. He wrote School of Rock, and he plays Jack Black's, you know, the roommate in School of Rock, and he's the writer of that movie. So it's an interesting, and they have it, or they did, I don't know if they're still operating as a production company, but Black and White Productions was there. Mike White and Jack Black. So, but it is, you know, people in Hollywood understand that about writers in general. And it's not everybody for sure, but it's very common. So it makes it really hard to network, right? And writers, it's a little different than like acting or other things. Writers don't typically network. They pitch, but they don't network quite as much. I'm really speaking in huge generalities here, because it's sort of the nature of the thing. However, it's good to do. And so we want to give you some ways to kind of reach out, ways to do it. So, you know, and I'm really making some blanket statements here. So that's just been my experience. And, you know, but it's more about whether or not, you know, writers or introverts or not, who really cares. It's more about you, and what are you, and understanding and embracing who you are, and not really worrying about. So we will do a poll. It starts with an S. I'm getting an S. Okay, now I'm going to start telling some fortunes. um, oh, it's on the tip of the tongue, the teeth, the lips. Okay, so 3-act structure. So the first thing about networking that is helpful, and let's look at this. We're filmmakers here, right? If you're a reader, you're involved in filmmaking. So let's look at this like a production, okay? Let's look at this as, we're going to break it into act 1, act 2, act 3, right? But act 1 would be the development side, which is where all the readers are, right? So act 1 would be all of the things of developing, getting ready, prepping, or whatever. And then we're going to do act 2 is like the production, when things are happening, how do you behave in that? And then act 3 is like pre-production. Okay, let's stop. We talk about it that way and make it a little bit easier. So pre-production is the follow-up and whatnot. So in act 1, one of the first things that we do as writers when we're developing a screenplay, or as producers when we're making a movie, is we do a lot of research about what it is that we're going to be doing. So you research. So if you're going to network, you can look about for events that are in your area that are either networking events or not, because especially as a writer or even as a producer, it's not necessarily that you need to meet Hollywood people. That might seem counterintuitive, but if you're going to produce movies, if you want to fundraise for a movie, for instance, you're going to know all kinds of people. So and everyone knows someone. So most people know someone that is involved in the arts in some way. It's kind of interesting that way. It's not 6 degrees. It's Kevin Bacon on, it's like even less than 6 people. So kind of going to any networking thing. And also it would be good, and we'll get to this in a moment, but go to some networking thing that's not about the movies or not about the thing that you're trying to do, because then you can practice and it won't matter as much. So look for events in your area, both locally. You can go to things, you can look for, most cities or areas have a film festival that's, stone's throw away or not that far away. Or you can plan a vacation and go to one of the big ones. You can go to Sundance or Telluride. Straw poll? That's not the movie, right? No, we're going to do straw poll. No, because straw polls are serious. This is not serious. So, right. So networking with other writers is definitely a thing, Elaine, and definitely something that we recommend, which is one of the reasons why we have this Facebook group. So it can be online where you look in different groups, you join different groups, you kind of suss it out, you use them like you do this one, or it can be actually meeting in person. We recommend doing some things in person so you can kind of get used to that thing. So then if you do end up having to do a meeting of some kind, you're more comfortable. We highly recommend that you network in that way too. So when you're doing that, so let's say there's a film festival or even a networking event or whatever, one of the first things to do is to research that event, research who put it on, research what's the venue, who's planning to attend, like find out. Usually events have their own social media. Really look at the social media, start IMDbing and Googling and looking at the people that you're seeing engaged in the Facebook group or engaged in the event page or whatever it might be. They have to market. So look at the marketing, see where is it at? What is the venue? Research that venue. And I'll tell you why in a moment. So really know like the area the venue's in, especially if you're traveling somewhere, look around, learn the area, figure out where you are, learn about the actual venue that it's in. Is it an old hotel? Does it have any significance within the city? Are there things about this that are kind of good conversation things? So if the more you know about just, your environment, the more comfortable you'll feel when you get there. So you'll feel a little bit more like you belong there, or like just more, like you own it more. If you're, instead of being lost, not knowing where you are, not knowing what hotel this is, like being really, pave that way for yourself, pave the way, know who the people are that are running the event. That's huge. If you really want to practice, so then you can practice, right? So you do research, and then under Act 1 is also practicing. So if you can attend, like we said, you can attend an event that's not part of the film industry or whatever to kind of get your sea legs, get to know people, practice without, people that you're trying to impress as a writer, whatever. It's a way that you can, figure it out. Secret window? I don't know. It's going to be, I think it might be. I think that might be it. Okay, so now Google it and see. It would help if see, I'm like, what's that movie? And then I actually never knew to begin with. So I guess you kind of have to know the answer before you can do a contest. Yeah. But okay, so clearly, nobody's seen that movie. And I think probably that's why, because it was like, in the first 2 seconds, I was like, oh, come on, really, please let there be a twist. It wasn't. There was no twist. I mean, there was, but wasn't very twisty. That's all I can say. So then you can practice. You can go to like, whatever, go to whatever. There's so many events all the time in any community, go to any kind of, one of the best places to meet people, like if in LA or anywhere, are fundraisers, things that don't have anything to do with Hollywood at all, because that's where people are having fun. They're usually just, there to donate and support a cause. And it's a really great way to get to know people or at fundraisers. Also, it's cool. You're helping a cause. There's that. I mean, that's really a great thing about it, right? So you can really kind of practice at fundraisers and get to know people and network, if you go, fundraisers are also a great thing to invite people to. So you can invite someone. If you invite someone to a golf tournament, then you're spending the day, if you golf, that is, even if you don't, if you go to a golf tournament, like it's a fundraiser, most of the people that you're going to have your diehards that golf, but the majority, at least half of the people, like I've been to many golf tournaments. I can putt, like I'm actually kind of a stellar putter. So I actually went miniature golfing the night before to practice, and then I was the one that was sinking it. So, you can, because you go in teams. So, and you're supposed to rotate who does what, but I don't think people do. So, but it's a great way. You can spend the whole day golfing with someone. So fundraisers are a really good idea to invite people to, because you can invite someone to a fundraiser that you're trying to get to know. And I talk about this, and we talked about this, I think last week, if you're an actor, inviting a casting director or an agent or something to go see another actor. So you're being benevolent in helping that theater company, but you're spending time with this casting director so they get to know you. So same is true with the fundraiser. If you invite someone that you've either kind of have an acquaintance with or whatever to a fundraiser or golf tournaments, people are sort of used to that being a networking thing. So a lot of people will go to golf tournaments with people they don't know very well. It's a kind of a different thing. So that's a whole another way you can go. She owns, you have a very smart wife, Anson. She owns every Depp film. I trust you. I do trust you. So, so Cindy loves Secret Window, but she doesn't think that's it. So someone's going to, is it John Turturro and him and Maria Bello and Timothy Hutton? That's the main cast. And then there's a couple little characters aside from that. So also another thing that you can do, and this is a really great way to make it easier for any networking event, is to volunteer at the event rather than be an attendee at the event. Volunteer, because then you're going to be behind the scenes. I can't tell you how many contacts I made doing pitch fests, taking pitches, because then I'm on the other side of the table. And when I was at that conference, and I've told this story before, but when I became a reader, I won a contest with a screenplay, and I was at a conference and they were talking about what's a reader. And I was like, you're getting your script past to readers, what they were talking about. And I was like, what's a reader? Like, I want to do that. And then I remember standing at that conference going, okay, I'm going to give myself like, I think it was 2 years, and I'm going to be on the other side of the table. Like, I didn't want to be out. I wanted to be on the other side of the table. Like, immediately I was like, yeah, no, the place to be is on the other side of the table, because then you are networking with people. It's a different thing, right? There's not that barrier. And so I would go to pitch fests and exchange cards, both as a reader and consultant and as a writer. Like, I got an ability to be able to talk to people because I was taking pitches at pitch fests. So that's a really, volunteering at the event, getting to know the event organizers, that can really lead to things. I mean, I was a volunteer at that point. I had a pretty good resume, but I started to do panels. And so volunteering at a film festival, and that's how I met Bobby Moresco, who's the writer of Crash. And then we met him, Doug was there, and we met him at the film festival, and then got to know him, such a good guy. And then eventually ended up doing 3 or 4 more events for him, ended up going to his house and filming him for something, became this whole relationship, right? From volunteering. So volunteering, don't knock it. It's a really great way to make connections. And that's how Doug and I met. You were volunteering, right? When we met at the conference? Yeah, there it is. So yeah, he was volunteering, and then we met because I was there volunteering, taking pitches, and I was on a panel maybe at that point. And so we met and just hit it off right away. And then he had a script, and the rest is history. So, right? I mean, life-changing, huge life-changing things can happen when you're volunteering. That's how we were volunteering at an event with the producer of the project that we're working on, which has some really cool stuff that we can't say yet going on. Did you read it? That's for Doug. We met the person, like we were volunteering at an event, and he was one of the sponsors, and he brought his family, and so we were kind of chatting, and Doug and I often would volunteer at events and sit and write together while we're sitting there volunteering, right? You're like man in a booth or something and then working, it's like, it's awesome. So you're giving back and you're able to help people out, and then we could sit there and work. Well, he saw us working. He's like, what are you doing? I go, oh, this is my writing partner. And I was like, oh, you probably, and I'd known this person for a long time, at least 5 years, only on the capacity of helping and volunteering for things. And because I do a lot of community service, and that's how I knew this person. And he was like, I have a screenplay. I was like, what? And he goes, what? And we didn't know that about each other. And so now we're producing a project together. So because we were volunteering at an event. So I could go on about that, obviously. So that's part of the prep. The other thing to prepare yourself, you need to be prepared. You need to have a good business card that's not boring. You need to have it. I mean, I always have like really interesting business cards. I've been using a movie ticket because we do movie nights. And so I have a movie ticket that's my business card, and it gives them a code that they can use to come if they want to join us for movie night, right? Like something that's a little bit different, have an interesting business card. You can have on the back of your business card things. And then also have social media platforms. As much as you hate it, if you do want to market yourself, it's nice to have a Facebook page that's a business page. That's, do some things that are you'll get more traction if you already have any kind of following. Oh, yeah, that's coming. Sorry. Yes, we met in a very rich woman's backyard with the producer. Yes, the Jacob guy, exactly, Elaine. Within the Screen Readers ensemble, we have that project, and so people can kind of see what's going on, and now it's grown into where Doug and I are going to be. This producer brought in a script, and now it's morphed into something else. So everyone in the ensemble is following us through this whole project. It's been interesting. Then be prepared with a good business card. So that's all act one, right? That's all the pre-production, getting ready, researching, preparing yourself, having a good business card, being ready, then act two is production. And number one, my lord, behave. Okay? Behave. Whether it's in a group, whether it's in a room, behave. Kindergarten rules apply. Be nice. Your first impression never goes away. Doesn't matter how much you come back around from it. That first impression never goes away. Your body language, how you dress, just be cool. Treat the others, attendees. I cannot tell you how many times, and this goes down to Pitch Fest, be etiquette, but you see it everywhere, really. And you see it at networking events all the time. Like if there's a line of any sort, the person that's standing there like, or how you treat the staff, do believe that people are watching you. I'm watching people. If I know that I'm at a network event and we're looking, for a project or something, I'm going to be watching how people behave. And if you're rude to the waiter, you're gone. Forget it. It's like that kind of thing is so simple, and yet it's kind of amazing. So at Pitch Fest, you have a line of people that are waiting to talk to you. If there's this guy, and if the guy behind them is like, your time's up, anything like that, like there's too much competition to not behave. And I see it in this group, people just being rude. Like, don't be rude. Be nice. Be nice. Be nice. Hi, Gaina. Yes. Did I get that right? So yeah, behave. Oh, behave. So yes, behave. Don't be rude to the staff. Don't be rude to the waiters. Because you know what? The other thing is if you have a waiter and the waiter has access to everything, the host of the event, don't be rude to the host of the event. I see it all the time. If you're nice to the host of the event, even strike up a conversation. Congratulate them for putting this on. Like, be aware that they're doing all this work and that they're doing this, to bring people together and whatever. If you get to know the staff later, perhaps you can say, hey, could you introduce me to so-and-so if there's someone at this event you'd like to meet? It works that way. It really does. So behave, be nice, treat each other, treat other attendees, treat the staff, have the utmost respect, and just be nice. Like, I know it's like a broken record, but it's yay, I said it right. Yay. It's very cool. I love it. Yeah. And then be engaging. So learn to listen. You don't need to be the guy. And actually, when Doug and I were at the conference, there was a woman there who had a business card it was a really cool idea. So she had a business card that was a QR code, and then the QR code was a messenger bot. So really great idea, right? Like, so that she could show you how a messenger bot worked, because immediately when you clicked on, if you took a picture, I'm not sure what you did, and I'll tell you why, I don't know. It's a shame that I don't know. But if you clicked on it or whatever with the QR code, it sent you into Messenger immediately. Like, you got a message in your Messenger, which was like kind of like super new technology, right? Except, what was the deal? Like, see, we had a VIP thing and she was there, and she was like, it was a QR code, right? So you needed your phone. So she would hold it like, she'd be like, here's my QR, like right in your face. Like, here's my, look, and I'm sure you don't know about Messenger. It's like, you don't know that. Like, why are you assuming that? And there was one woman that was great next to me. It was like, what's Messenger? And then she started laughing. Like, she was really funny. She actually didn't know that she was being funny about it. But she was so obnoxious with her QR code and how clever she is that when I left, like, I didn't, it was too much. And then when I walked away and I came back, all of her cards were on the table, because everybody was like, because she didn't allow it to be. She was so obnoxious with it that no one did it. So, that kind of stuff is like, it has to do with learning to listen. You don't need to be the guy that, oh, you know what I've got going, and we actually call this Webster. You don't need to be Webster, which is the guy that knows everything about everything. And so whenever I meet a Webster kind of person, like Cliff on Cheers or whatever, that's like, oh, well, let me tell you about that. I like make up stuff. So like, oh, these strawberries are really good, just to see if they'll tell me about where strawberries come from. It's like, there are people that are like that. So, yes. And Cindy's saying it does pay off if it goes to staff. It's so true. It does. And you'll get better service too, right? I'm sure as people in entertainment, a lot of us probably have been in the service industry. We know what happens when you're not nice to waiters. Yes, a QR code scanner. Thank you, Anson, for clarifying that. Exactly. So it is like, but I see this kind of thing a lot. And you see people thinking that they need one, they need to have a firm handshake. And so you're like, you just broke my hand. Like, instead of just being kind of reciprocating, reciprocity is a huge thing. And people like, if you give someone all the time, you're always giving. After a while, they get uncomfortable, right? Because we need to receive and give. It needs to be a two-way street. And if you're constantly giving, and I've seen this, especially with people that I've known that have gotten, pretty wealthy in their life. And so they just want to be generous. And the amount of resentment that flies back in their face is astounding. It's really interesting. And being able to go, no, they just want to, they can, and they want to. And I remember one time I said, I remember I was so embarrassed because I said, I'll get it because I can. And my friend was like, well, I can too. And I was like, I totally didn't mean it that way. I just meant that I'm excited in this moment that I can do this. That's all I meant. It was not at all a judgment on you. Like, I had to clarify, because it made it sound like I can do it and you can't. And that's not at all how I meant it. So luckily she's a good friend and it was totally fine. But I was still kind of embarrassed because that was icky, right? I didn't mean it like that, but that's how it comes across. And so, because reciprocity is so important to people. And they've done these studies where, and Eben Pagan talks about this, my hero, but they do these studies where they put people in a room and they say, okay, you've got person A and person B, and I have $100, and you guys are going to split this. Person A gets to decide how it's going to be split, and then person B has to agree to it. Otherwise, no one gets anything. So if person A says, okay, we're going to split 50-50, then person B usually says yes. But if person A, and they could push it a bit, like they can say, I'm going to get 60, you're going to get 40. And person B will be like, okay. But if person A says, I'm getting 80 and you're going to get 20, rather than get 20, which was better than what they started with, they'll say, no, thank you. They will because it needs to be just. They will let the money, walk away. They'll walk away rather than not have equality. Fascinating, right? And so then they thought, well, maybe it's because, they were doing it in an area where $100 was not that big, huge sum of money to the people that they were testing. So then they went to an area where $100 was like a month's, salary or something. I don't know, but it was like a lot of money. Same thing. Didn't matter, which is like astounding to me that the person would rather walk away with nothing than be cheated, right? And it's fascinating stuff. So that reciprocity, when you walk in and you either are too like, oh, martyrish giving away, or you need to find that balance of listening, asking questions, open-ended questions, things like, tell me, how did you get your start? Tell me what inspired you to do this project. What, prompt them in a way that helps them, kind of move forward. Yes. So, so Gain is saying, I was helping at catering at a charity event. Most people were nice, met two obnoxious celebs. I actually, years ago, I'm totally dating myself with this, but I was waiting tables and Carrie Elwes came in right when Princess Bride was pretty new and kind of a big deal. And I remember saying, as you wish, as a joke, right? And he was so obnoxious. And it was so weird. And who knows? Being a celebrity is, now I see it in a whole different light, of course, but because at the time, now I know a lot of celebrities and I know how isolating it is, how weird it is that people are either really obnoxious and invading your space, or all the nice, cool people are leaving you alone because they don't want to bother you. So you're kind of like, talk about introvert. You're stuck in this thing of like, it's so isolating to where, it's up to you to make conversation, and people say the stupidest things. And it's like, it's really awful. And so that's probably what was going on with him. But I judged him like that, right? Like, who am I to judge that guy? Who knows what was going on in his life? And actually, I've read things that he's written about that movie, and he's so generous and lovely in the things that he writes. He probably is a generous, lovely man. I judged him in that moment. But so that's what I mean is we judge. Whether you like it or not, you're judging me right now. We're constantly judging each other for better or worse. That's just human nature. So if you can come into a room, find that happy medium between engaging, talking to people, and not feeling the need to go, like regurgitating your life to people. This is now where your research comes into play, right? When things get awkward, you can say, did you know this building is like, blah, 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 right? Did you know that this is the center of town? And then it becomes a kind of a funny thing where it's like, has nothing to do with anything of what the party or whatever you're doing. And often that can be the thing that connects you to someone has nothing to do with whatever. How many siblings do you have? Like whatever. There's so many things, like you can go like, hey, tell me something about yourself that's weird. Like the one that I use a lot is that I was on the carnivals when I was a kid, because that's not too many people. Although I was at somewhere where someone was like, no kidding, so was I. And I was like, what? And then it turned out we had both done the haunted houses. Like, it's kind of weird. But it is like, often people don't have a sense of humor, which is true, or not, but not typically. Most people have some sort of sense of humor, but usually maybe he was having a bad day. Maybe I was like, it probably was, I was like the millionth person that had said, as you wish to him, poor guy. Right. I mean, that's probably what it is. And he was like, oh my God, if one more person says, as you wish to me, I'm going to shoot myself. I mean, that's probably what it was. I never really even thought about it, but who knows. Right. So if you can walk that line and you can make comments about, oh, these shoes are killing me, something that's just universal, something that has nothing to do with anything, something that is, and then we're going to kind of get, and then the kind of final one that's sort of an intuitive thing that I intuitively do and has always worked well for me. Well, two things. So we have in here, so ask unrelated questions, which is what we're talking about, things that have nothing to do with anything. And you can ask related questions. So what brings you here? Who do you know that's, why did you come? Have you been to this before? It can be, related to the event. If it was a film, like maybe a screening, you can comment on something that happened in the movie that shows you were paying attention. You can say, what did you think about this relationship with this? Or, did you know these actors before? You can comment, then you can find things in common that way. So those are related questions. If it's awkward and none of that's working, you can go to the research you did about the venue, how your feet hurt, whatever. So those are, both related and unrelated questions. Also, if you come from a place of service, so you're coming from a place of wanting to know more about them instead of wanting to tell them more about you. So the more that you can do that, and also the more that you learn about people, the more you'll find a connection to them. If you just bombard them with your thing, you won't find out like anything about them to know if this would be someone that would be a good fit for you anyway. So try to just find out, and then as you're meeting people, and this is works so well and is so key. If someone, or if you know someone and you're talking to someone, you go, oh, I have a friend that blah, 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 I should introduce you. The more you can connect other people, or you can say, hey, because you were being nice when you walked in, right? I met the host. Oh, you haven't met them? Maybe I can introduce you. Because what happens is both of those people then, maybe they'll connect and beautiful things will happen, maybe they won't, but they'll both remember you because you connected them. And if you walk away, what are they going to be talking about? You. It's like that it puts you in their mind. And it can be, I mean, I sort of do this naturally. I love the idea of connecting people. I think it's just so cool of being able to go, hey, you that's why we're constantly going, hey, what genre do you do? Hey, you need to talk to Mickey. We're always throwing Mickey out there. Yeah, so hey, Brack, who has a dark sense of humor? Hook up with Brack. It's because maybe that's what it is. I don't know if I'm nailing you that you have a so you met Sturgis and Abby Cornish and you walked up and said, your money's no good here, I'll buy you a drink, but it's moonshine. That's awesome. We have to go to North Carolina. That's also hop in my car. It's awesome. So yeah, so he's doing exactly what Doug's saying here is find ways to relate, and then connecting other people is a huge one. So you can say, oh, most people know someone who knows someone, even if you're from, we can connect on location, on childhood stuff, like that kind of thing as well. So connecting people is a huge way. So then we go into post-production or act 3, right? Now we're talking about the follow-up. So first of all, be organized. Like take a picture of all the business cards that you collected so that if you lose it, you still have it. Take a picture so you have the information. When you're talking to someone, if you say, oh my gosh, I know someone that you need to meet or whatever, that can be a reason to exchange information. Don't just offer your business cards out to people. You want to wait to be asked often is really the best way. But if you really want to exchange someone, you can ask them for theirs and then that opens up for you to exchange. I guarantee if you just throw your business cards at people, they're going to be like that woman and they're going to be left on the table anyway. So, kind of feel it out. And then you can also say, hey, I'll just take a picture. You can keep your card. I'll take a picture of it. You can do that even right there if it feels comfortable. But really really just listen. If you're just listening, it will be far more, you'll be aware of what's happening there. And then follow up with something interesting. Don't just follow up and say, hey, it was so nice to meet you. Let's get together for coffee. Follow up and say, we talked about the venue. You know what I found out about the venue? Get this, some kind of fun fact or something silly or something, hey, look at this video or whatever. It's like, we connect with people. I mean, humor is a great one. If you do connect on a level of humor, it's awesome. And sometimes one of the weird things that happens that I've noticed when I'm raising money for things is like, so I'll be asking for certain, funds or whatever. And then I'll say, oh, here's the document. And this I did it by accident. Oh, shoot, I forgot the link or I forgot the attachment. And then, so you got to, oh, shoot, sorry, I forgot the attachment. And you can make some joke or whatever. That like softens people up in a weird way. And I've had that happen many times where it's like, it's that afterthought or when you make a mistake, for some reason, people kind of soften because they've been there. So sometimes that can, and I wouldn't recommend that constantly doing that on purpose, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that show that human side and just show that. And if you do make a mistake, be apologetic, but don't, whatever, like, don't like, just like, here, sorry, like, just relax about it all. And I think if you come into a room and you've done your research and you know the venue, you know the place, you know the people, then you will be more comfortable. That will set the groundwork. You can start engaging with people in a more, in an easier way. And then the follow-up can just be sort of serendipitous with that. And, I do panels. I'm starting to do even more of these now, but doing Q&As for screenings and stuff. And, I watched the movie and I found out that a lot of people don't. I can't even imagine that, where they don't watch the movie and then they're interviewing the people afterwards. It's just so lame. And then they're asking kind of general questions that everybody would ask. What's it like to work together? And blah, blah, blah. Instead of going, hey, this moment in this movie, what were you, what sparked that? Like to be able to really dive in and ask those intricate questions. If you have a chance and you're at a screening, go there. Like go show that you've done your work, show that you're showing up. And honestly, it's the 80-20 rule, really. Like 20% of people do that, probably, I would say. Do the work. Watch the movie, go the extra mile, do the research. You will stick out if you're someone who does that, I guarantee it. And then, basically follow up and having etiquette, same kind of thing. Come from a place of service. Comment if you're following up via social media. just comment on their page about, oh my gosh, this is so great. So glad I met you. And this is why, with a finger pointing at whatever that post is that they did that you loved. Like you can let them know that it was you, that you guys met, but you have to be like, hi, it's me. Remember we met? Remember that was me. Remember? Just be, but just be, it's just genuine, come from a place of service. So we have this handout for you guys. I think it's probably, yeah, there it is. Boom. So you didn't have to do it, Doug. So I just put it in the comments. So you can get the handout there. Oh, that's awesome. So Brack's saying we discussed, this great name, by the way. We discussed my family history, and he said he'd like to be in it if it becomes a movie. Well, there you go. Right? So now, as you're moving forward and you have some other tidbit from your family history that's like shocking, I have a bit of that in my family. So, you can like follow up, like, hey, check this out, or whatever. You can follow up in that way. Yeah, and right, Jean, humor is great. Humor is great. And Doug is saying, I collect more business cards than you give out. And that's definitely the way that, you want to be collecting business cards. You can be laid back. Exactly, Brack. You can take control of it that way. And then you can figure out what, and sometimes you can follow up right away. Some people follow up, they go out in their car and they do all of their follow-ups. And if you're someone who knows that you're going to have a hard time, if you're one of those personality types, and here we go back to the personality types, that's a real go-getter, but has a hard time to follow through. It's fine to follow up with people, it could be a long time later, as long as when you're following up, you'd be like, so remember back, like you could just make a joke about how, yeah, we met like, I don't know, eons ago, but I never stopped thinking about, I was always kind of waiting for an opportunity, or I never, I've always, every once in a while I've thought, oh, this would be good for you. Like you can rekindle that in a second, just by just the fact that you remember who the person is and that you're circling back around. It can be years. And, we're bringing on a lot of people on the podcast of relationships that I've had early on in my reading days, and people I haven't talked to for a while. And I just had lunch like a couple of weeks ago with someone that I hadn't seen in such a long time. And I mean, we'd raised our kids, and and it was like, wow, it was so great to kind of reconnect and just talk again and see where they were at and whatever. It doesn't matter how much time goes by. It doesn't matter how much distance there is. Doesn't matter. One of my best friends are all over the place. One's in Africa. So it's like, you can make connections with people. You don't have to live in the same place that they do. I'd recommend, so Braxton, introvert. I don't know if you heard in the beginning. He says he tends to observe before engaging, which that's very kind of classic introvert behavior, which is a really smart way to be. And it might not seem like I do because I don't hear, because I'm the one that's, engaging us and getting us going. But in a general room, I do that as well in general when I'm coming in, unless I'm volunteering or part of it. Then when you have a role and you're volunteering or you're taking care of things, it's a different thing. And also you meet people on a whole different level. And so volunteering, I can't tell you the amount of opportunities that come from volunteering. It's really cool. And you're also doing something great for your community or whatever. So highly recommend volunteering. So there's the handout for that. You can just, and when you go there, you'll see that you can get the handout for that. And then you'll see on that page, there's a bunch of other handouts. Feel free to download those. There's also videos, Facebook Live videos that go with that handout on the other. So feel free to spend some time, because we've got the YouTube channel now. Yay, Hollywood Gatekeepers, YouTube Hollywood Gatekeepers. And so we're kind of organizing things for you so that we have things about writing a screenplay. We have things about being an entrepreneur. We have things like this about networking. We have just all kinds of different categories that you can learn. Yay. So there's stuff about writing, reading, entrepreneurship, basically. And then we also have, you can watch one of the panels I did with I'm Not Here. We just got interviews, this stuff up there. So definitely check that out. And next week, share a glass of wine via Zoom. I actually had a neighbor text me, hey, I'm opening a bottle of wine. Are you coming? Where are you? And I was like, I'll be right there. I'll be online and then I'll be right there. So I'm going to go over and my neighbor, spend some time with her. So she's awesome. So there you have it. I was going to look to see if I have it handy. I don't think I do. We're getting very organized, and we are coming up with our topics ahead of time. So I was going to see what next week's topic is. I can speak. So if you have an idea, or have a question, I absolutely love seeing how you guys are connecting in the Facebook group. And if you're watching on YouTube, definitely get into that Facebook group and connect with people, because I'm seeing people going, hey, who wants to read with me? Who wants to, oh, I'm so glad I looked up what the topic is. It's a good one. Who wants to read with me? Who can look at my screenplay? And people are sharing, and it's super cool. And I'm loving, and I think one of my favorite posts is Bottle of Guinness, that's awesome. You'll be there like a dirty shirt. And I'm glad you made it. I thought you said you couldn't make it today, so I'm glad you're here. Where's the handout? So it's here, I'll put it again. Hi, Roger. Nice to see you. So I think I got it. Did I get it in there? I did. So we have a lot. I love all the things. And in closing, I want to say that someone put in one of the posts, readers don't write and writers don't read. And that was the thing that people say about readers. And I read that and I called Doug and I was like, what? Wait, what? Readers don't write and writers don't read? Oh no! I've been doing that for a really long time. I've been doing both. Oh my gosh, I got it all wrong. I've actually never heard that expression. Can you believe that? I've never heard that expression as a writer or a reader. Been crossing back and forth like, what is it, like a dirty shirt? No, that doesn't really make sense. I don't have very good. I'm not good at those. But yeah, I've never heard that before. And it was interesting. And I think in parting, I just want to kind of say that these, what do you call that, colloquialism? I was trying to just spew out this really lovely word, sayings. I'm really smart. I'm super smart. Say what? Right? I was like, oh no, I've been doing this wrong forever. But I think we come up with these sayings and they're just obstacles. They're just things to hold us back. And we do it all the time. And like the conversation I had with my brother today when we were like, it's just your brain. It's your brain and you need to control. It's the one thing you can control in this world is your brain. And, in general, for the most part, not everybody, of course. But in general, we have the ability to go, no, I refuse to think that. I'm going to think this instead. I'm not going to go down that path. I'm going to go over here. Like, we can control that. Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Doug. He's the smart one. I'm pretty sure it's not actually a thing. But I think maybe he did hear that. And maybe people do say that. I'm sure they do. If he's heard it, of course they do. It's like, can't do teach. There's so many things that are just awful. And it's like, whatever. And that's what I have to say about it. Whatever. But I just don't want that to be an obstacle. And we kind of were talking about it. And Doug, I think, said this in the comments, is that probably that was a way for that particular production company, I think he was a reader, to maintain their staff, right? To be able to make sure that their readers weren't crossing those boundaries, because that can be dicey and weird. And we talk about that quite a bit in Ensemble. But it is like, you do want to have that line between your readers and writers for sure. And it is a thing where there can be if you're a reader, you definitely don't want to be hired as a reader and then trying to push your screenplay. Like, that's not okay. There are definite rules of etiquette, kind of like what we've been describing here. However, if you're a reader, for one thing, you're a writer, because you have to write coverage and you have to write it well. So you're a writer. If you're a reader, you're a writer. So whether or not you write screenplays, that's another choice. But if you are a reader, you have to be able to write and write well. That's part of the deal. Otherwise, who wants a crappy coverage? Anyone? So on that note, so I think there's some truth to what Doug's saying, is that they're trying to limit, they don't want to lose their readers. So they're boxing it in with that saying. And probably, and maybe more people say that. It sounds right. It sounds like, it didn't surprise me to read that. It just kind of made me go, it made me laugh about, but then it just made me go, oh, what a shame, right? Like, let's not do that. Let's cut those away. Any sayings that are like that, and we go down, we have a topic coming up that's all about money, that goes down all the sayings we say about money. Don't even get me started. Money doesn't grow on trees. You got to work money. You got to make money. Whatever. There's all these sayings that we do that all they do is just bind us up. So next week we are talking about avenge yourself. Is that the greatest thing or what? Avenge yourself. And this is a great segue, as my boss used to say, segue into like, you know, sticking up for yourself, being the power person that you are. Amy Cuddy, if you don't know her, she's amazing. So, you know, that's what we're going to talk about next week. So we've figured out our topics coming up because we have so much going on. Podcast is launching soon. The YouTube channel is up and running, and we're just, some of the links aren't quite there. You know what online business is? Links. It's links. That's all it is. Links. So I'm like totally on the tangent. I'm sorry. So, you know, we have so much going on that we've mapped it all out. So we will see you next week, and we will talk about avenging yourself, and it's going to be lovely, lovely. Maybe submit a script. I'll talk with my business part about it. Submit it to where? I'm not sure what you mean, Troy. So we will see you guys next week. Well, we will be avenging ourselves together because we are gatekeepers. I'm totally dating myself with something like something powers unite. What that is. Totally. Oh no, I was going to do another Turbo reference, which I'm not going to. Okay. All right, you guys. I'm going to stop while I'm behind. All right, you guys are awesome. Have a great week. You guys like totally, you keep us happy, you keep us inspired, and thank you so much for coming, and we will see you next week. Talk to you soon. Bye. And for those of you on YouTube, thank you for hanging out with us. We will talk to you very, very soon.